Let me turn to Paul Pelletier. He's an attorney, former federal prosecutor, and a law professor at George Washington University's law school. Paul, you know the case. You were listening to the hearing in court. Let me summarize it here. So the prosecutors say former presidents are not entitled to absolute immunity. Basically, they're not above the law. Trump's lawyers say former presidents can only be prosecuted for official acts while in office if they are impeached and convicted, even suggesting if a president assassinated a political rival, if he wasn't impeached and convicted first, he should get away with it. Is there a problem with the defense argument here?
Well, good afternoon. Yeah, the court seemed to have a problem with it, that's for sure. So his arguments, Trump's arguments are very unique, and they seem to be absurd in the context of this blanket immunity for any decisions that he makes while he's president. And the reason why there's a level of absurdity there is because the defense was arguing, for the first time, by the way, the defense was arguing that he needed to be impeached and convicted in the Senate before he could be tried. Well, if that were the case, any president who ordered, for instance, an assassination of a political opponent could always avoid criminal prosecution by resigning. Therefore, he couldn't be impeached and couldn't resign. So the logical answer to his question is that their immunity is so broad and so the president would be so able to prevent criminal prosecution just by resigning that it really borders on absurd. And I think the court pointed that out.
So when do you think we'll have a decision? And based on what you're telling me, this may not go in Trump's favor.
Yeah, it really doesn't look like it's going to go in Trump's favor, and I would predict that it wouldn't go in his favor. So the real issue here is how quick, as you said, how quick is the court going to decide, and then what happens after that? So it seems to me the court has really put this on a fast track, and I would expect within a week to 2 weeks we would have his decision, probably within a week, and then the court would then stay the opinion for a certain period of time, a very limited period of time, for the defendant to seek an appeal either to the entire circuit, which is called an en banc panel, or a direct appeal to the Supreme Court. So they would give Trump and his attorneys a limited time of a stay to seek that appeal. Of course, the court of the en banc court doesn't have to hear it, and the Supreme Court doesn't have to hear this matter. So both of them could defer. But we don't know what will happen. But certainly I would expect a decision this week.
So, Paul, also explain to our viewers why a swift decision is actually beneficial for prosecutors versus Trump's lawyers, who would clearly benefit from the prolonged appeal process.
Well, so what Trump is seeking here, obviously, is to delay the criminal trial into as deep in the political process and in the whole primary season as possible. The court, the prosecution, and the general public has an interest in a speedy trial here. And so by virtue of kicking the can down the road, you're preventing the trial that's supposed to happen in March. It looks like it's probably not going to happen in March, but the prosecution wants this trial to happen as soon as possible after these appeals are decided, because right now the criminal case is stayed against Trump in Washington, D.C. And I'm talking about the criminal case regarding the entire January 6th activity. So his interest obviously is kicking the can down the road.
And does any of this, at the end of the day, Paul, really, really matter for Donald Trump, who continues to call these indictments against him a political witch hunt? He talked to reporters shortly after that, which brings me to another point. I'm going off topic here. Shouldn't there be some kind of gag order on Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, there is a gag order already. It's very limited, though, and certainly given your opinion as to the merits of the case is permitted. What he's not allowed to comment on is sort of court personnel and stuff that would influence a potential jury, stuff that would influence. So there is a gag order. Courts are going to be very unique and limited about how they enforce that. But as it relates to Trump, it all eventually matters to Trump, because at the end of the day, if he goes to trial and is convicted in a reasonably quick time frame, it would have a significant impact, in my view, on his ability to be elected. Now, it might not have an impact directly on sort of the MAGA uh, cult following that he has, but it would have an impact on those independent voters who are trying to make a decision about who to vote for. So yes, even though he may not believe it's important or it impacts him, it will for sure.
We'll leave it there. Paul Pelletier, thank you.